Okay, so this is related to a topic called tissue repair. It's very important, and inshallah, after the lecture, you girls can tell what is regeneration. You can define regeneration, renewal, and repair, and you can explain the mechanisms involved in tissue repair along with wound healing pathology. Okay, anything which affects the wound healing, and you can explain the clinical outcomes of primary and secondary intention of healing, and you can analyze the various factors influence wound healing and their clinical importance, and you can able to explain the various stages of fracture healing. These are all the things you can do after the lecture, hopefully. See, once the so far we discussed about cell injury, inflammation, right? So that is a two areas: cellular adaptation, cell injury, inflammation. These are the three concepts we discussed. So once the cell injury happens, okay, then it has to be cleared. The injury has to be cleared. It for clearing we use the body uses inflammation. Inflammation clears the injury. After that healing starts. After that the healing starts. So injury to cells and tissues makes a series of events that control the damage and initiate the healing process. So healing process are broadly classified into regeneration and repair. There are two types of healing process. One is regeneration, other one is repair. So regeneration results, so what is the outcome of the healing? That is very important. Once the regeneration or repair happens, what is the end result? If regeneration happens, see, if there is loss of tissue, it will be completely restored means completely comes back. If for example, if the skin is injured, okay, then the skin completely comes back. So it is a regeneration. Okay, for example, you have a skin, right? Skin has dermis and epidermis. You all know? Dermis and epidermis. So epidermis is stratified squamous epithelium, right? It is a stratified squamous epithelium. If the dermis is damaged, then the dermis again comes back. The dermis again comes back. That is regeneration. That is regeneration, because complete loss of dermis and again the dermis coming back, that is regeneration. It is completely restored. Completely restored. Repair means they may restore some original structure, but there will be structural alteration. For example, there is epidermis and dermis. Okay, person got some injury, it is little bit deep, so dermis is also injured. Okay, so when the epidermis and dermis is injured, actually the healing will be of repair. Healing will be of repair, where they produce collagen. Collagen and they produce scar formation. So what I want to tell is, if the injury is superficial, if the injury is only happening at the epidermis completely grows back. That is regeneration. Okay, if the injury is deep, I will show you the pictures, you will understand more. If the injury is deep, because I am talking about principle, you may not understand, you will not comprehend. See, when the injury is superficial, if I am taking an example of skin injury, if the skin has two parts, right, epidermis and the dermis. Superficial means epidermis is injured. If the epidermis is injured, then epidermis completely grows back. That is regeneration. If the person got deeper injury, then the epidermis cannot grow back, right? The injury is deep, so it will be healed by collagen formation. That is not called as regeneration, it is called scar formation. You all know scar? It is called scar formation. I will show you the pictures, you will understand more. See, I am going to in detail now. Regeneration means, see, I am going to use a more technical now. The proliferation of cells and tissues to replace the lost structure. So what happens in some animals? if you cut the hand limb, the limb completely grows back. The limb completely grows back. But actually in human being it's not like that. But in some animals, if you cut the limb, I'll show you the animal. So if you cut the limb completely grows back. That is regeneration. That is regeneration. What happens? The proliferation of cells and tissues happens that will replace the lost structure. So the example I given, the growth of the amputated limb of an amphibian. These are the group of animals. So where if you cut the limb completely grows back. But the such capacity is not there in human being. But actually there is a some related to some same kind of capacity seen in liver. Seen in liver. What happens in liver? See, this is liver. Okay, now we cut this liver. We cut this part, then liver becomes like this, right? So because we cut this part out. After this, the liver grows back like this, not in shape. The liver grows back, it comes to the same volume. It comes to the same volume. This is called compensatory growth. It is called compensatory growth. So such capacity is seen in the liver. That's why nowadays we give half of the liver to someone. Okay, that is called live liver donor. Okay, so the person is not dead. The person is living. He can give his half of his liver to some of the person who needs liver, who has liver is completely damaged. Okay, that is called live liver donor. Understand? So even last year one of our student gave his liver to his mother. Okay, half of his liver to his mother. So this is happening nowadays. Because why it is happening? The principle here is liver can grow back. Liver can grow back, not in shape, in volume. In volume, it is called compensatory growth. It is called compensatory growth. It is not real regeneration. Regeneration means it completely comes in shape, everything it comes back. Okay, that is regeneration. But here it is restoring its volume. It restoring its volume. It is compensatory growth. It is compensatory growth. See, what is renewal? See, in the first class in cellular adaptation, I talked about homeostasis, right? You all remember? Okay, cell dies, new cell comes. That is homeostasis. This is what is happening as a regular event, right? Oral mucosal cells die, new cell comes back. GIT, GIT tract cells die, new cells comes back. Skin also happens. The cells die, new cells comes back. It is renewal. It is called renewal. So renewal means it happens in the tissues where they have high proliferating capacity, where they have high proliferating capacity, and they should also have stem cells. They should also have stem cells. If the stem cells are damaged, they cannot do renewal. They cannot do renewal. So each skin under the epidermis we have stem cells. We have stem cells. Likewise, oral mucosa under the stratified squamous epithelium we have a stem cell. If that stem cell is damaged, the renewal cannot happen. Renewal cannot happen. So renewal is a process happens what the tissues have high proliferative capacity. High proliferative capacity means what do you mean by high proliferative capacity? The tissues has a cell which keep on dividing, that is high proliferative capacity. So remember, they need stem cells. If the stem cells are damaged, then the tissue cannot go for renewal. Then the tissues are permanently destroyed. The tissue is permanently destroyed. So repair, it is a combination of regeneration and scar formation because of deposition of collagen. And the tissue going for regeneration or scarring depends on the availability of the tissue to regenerate and the extent of injury. See, for example, when the injury is very deep, extent of injury is very large, then they cannot go for regeneration, they go for repair. That's what I told. If the epidermis is only injured, they will go for regeneration. If dermis is also involved, both are involved, they go for repair. Okay, so why it is going for repair? The extent of injury is deep. So it depends upon the extent of injury, very important. So for example, when you remove the teeth, the extent of injury is deep, they go for repair, so repair is the one happens if the extent of injury is deep. I'll show you some clinical images, you will understand more. So if the superficial skin wound, superficial skin wound, which means epidermis only injured, that will end up with regeneration, so you all know in the chronic inflammation, the outcome is fibrosis, right? The outcome is fibrosis, because in chronic inflammation, the inflammation plus healing happens together. Inflammation plus healing happens together because of cytokines, which keep on promoting the fibroblast proliferation and collagen synthesis. Okay, so collagen comes from fibroblast. The cytokines will keep on stimulating the fibroblast, and the fibroblast will produce collagen that results in fibrosis. So up to this, let us summarize. See, we are discussing about something called tissue repair. Okay, so in the tissue repair, there are certain regular physiological thing happens. One is regeneration. Second one is renewal. Okay, this is normally happens in most of the tissues. Okay, example, skin, oral mucosa, and gastrointestinal tract tissue. Urinary bladder, urothelium. Okay, urotheliums. Okay, and these are the areas. Normally after a period of time, the cell dies, new cell comes back. Okay, that is called renewal. The cell is renewed. Okay, so the cell is keep on renewal, because these tissues have cells with high proliferating capacity. These tissues has cells with high proliferating capacity. Proliferating means what? Dividing. Proliferation capacity, which means they can go for frequent mitosis. Okay, now this is called renewal. Any doubt in this renewal? Okay, so renewal is something. Oral mucosa, say let us take oral example. Oral mucosa cells, after a period of time, they die and new oral mucosa cells comes. It is replaced, it is renewed. Okay, oral mucosa is continuously in renewal. So for that, why it is happening, the cells are having high dividing capacity, high proliferating capacity. Okay, but another point you should remember, the stem cell in the tissue is very important. The stem cells in the tissue is very important. If some injury is happening to the stem cells, they cannot renew, they cannot go for renewal. So example, radiation can damage the stem cells. Then automatically, do you think the cells can go for renewal? The cells cannot go for renewal if the stem cells are damaged. For example, radiation. Okay, see, when the person is having some cancer, okay, we give radiation therapy. When you give radiation therapy, so that's why the oral mucosa goes for ulcer formation. You know why? Because stem cells are killed. So automatically the cell cannot renew, so they form ulcer. Okay, so another example I give, certain people will get ulcer, that is called aphthous ulcer. Okay, see, it's normally everybody gets this ulcer. They say due to vitamin deficiency. Some painful ulcer we get. Okay, some say it is due to stress. But actually they give vitamin as a drug. And why? Because vitamin B complex is needed for proliferation. proliferation. If they have vitamin B deficiency, then the proliferation will be reduced. The proliferation will be reduced. The renewal is affected. They go for ulcer. They go for ulcer. You all understand this? This is the important examples you should know. Okay, so from these areas only we will be asking cases. Okay, once again I am telling, renewal happens in certain tissues which has increased high proliferating capacity, and if, for example, skin, oral mucosa cell, gastrointestinal tract cell, and urothelium. Okay, these are the tissues which has cells of high proliferating capacity. Okay, so and one more thing is very important is they should maintain the stem cells to needed for renewal, which is needed for renewal. If the radiation damage the stem cell or vitamin deficiencies can affect the proliferation, this all leads to ulcer formation because it all affects the renewal process. Now coming to the regeneration. Regeneration is something called complete restoration of the damaged tissue. For example, we have epidermis and dermis. If epidermis is damaged, then the epidermis comes back. This is regeneration. Okay. Now epidermis is damaged, dermis is also damaged. The injury is deep. Now epidermis and dermis will not come. Instead of, they produce collagen. It is replaced by a collagen. It is called scar. Scar formation. If the epidermis, that is, if the injury is superficial, epidermis alone damaged, the epidermis comes back. That is regeneration. If epidermis is injured, dermis also injured, that is deep injury, then it is replaced by a collagen. That is called scar formation. That is repair. Okay, so these are the things we discussed. With these basics, let us see some clinical images. Okay, see, this is superficial injury, right? The person got injury here. After a period of time, this goes for healing, right? And after a few weeks, you see there is no sign of injury. So this is superficial wound. Only epidermis is involved. So the epidermis completely comes back. This is regeneration. Any doubt in it? See, this is surgical incision, right? In that surgical incision, they put deep incision, right? That involves a dermis, it involves epidermis, it involves a dermis. So it is replaced by a collagen. When it is replaced by a collagen, you can see a scar. You can see a scar, right? See, you can compare this wound and this wound, right? This wound doesn't have scar here. It is the regeneration. So here it is a repair process where you are seeing deep injury, that is deep incision, where dermis is involved. So it is replaced by the collagen. So that is scar formation. You can see the scar, right? Yes or no? What you are seeing here? Here the scar is went little bit more deep. So more collagen is formed that produce fibrosis. Understand? So more collagen leads to fibrosis. Fibrosis means when more collagen, they contract. When they contract, this kind of clinical signs it produce. You can see here, right? The difference from here. Here it is, wound is very neat, right? Here what happens, it produces some contraction inside because of more collagen. You see the scar like this. Okay, so it is like a star shaped scar they call. Okay, so this is fibrosis. fibrosis. So what you have to take here, the principle is, if the incision is deep, they produce scar formation, and if the incision is superficial, they produce regeneration. They produce regeneration. And here, if the incision is very deep, they produce more collagen, that leads to fibrosis. What is happening here? See, here it is a extent of injury is huge. It is a burn injury. You all know burn, right? It's a burn injury. In burn injury, what happens? The extent of injury is huge. If the extent of injury is huge, they produce more collagen. Then it leads to fibrosis. When the fibrosis happens, they contract, and this is called contracture. So what is this? Scar. But in this area, it is at the plane of skin, right? It is plane of the skin. Here it is more, right? The scar is more. It is called hypertrophic scar. What is this? This is pimples, right? Okay, acne. So it is pimple. Okay, it is a superficial infection of the skin. Why there is no scar here? Because it is superficial. The completely epidermis grows back. That's why if you see our grandmothers and all, our parents and all, they tell not to press the pimple, right? Okay, because it will go deeper. They say scar formation will happen. Okay, because they are really a pathologist actually. So they say that if you press it, the infection goes deeper, dermis is involved, so it will produce scar formation like this. Understand? This is a superficial infection, so the infection went deep, so that leads to scar formation. What is this? Hypertrophic scar. Over healing of wound. It is hypertrophic. See, if it is a scar, it should be at the level of skin. If it is above the level of skin, it is hypertrophic scar. If it is above the level of skin, it is hypertrophic scar. What is this? This is a condition called keloid. Okay, I will show you in explanation. See, now this is skin. Okay, this is the skin, and the person got injury. Understand? The person got injury, and this is epidermis. This is dermis. Okay, the injury is deep or superficial? Injury is deep. Okay, now it will be healed by collagen formation, right? Now the collagen is forming. Okay, this is called what? Scar. If the collagen is coming out of the skin, it is called hypertrophic scar. Okay, if the collagen, the healing process is going beyond the level of injury, is here, right? But it is going beyond the level of injury. It is called keloid. Understand? So if at the level of skin, the collagen is at the level of skin, it is scar. If it is going above the level of skin, it is hypertrophic scar. If the collagen is going beyond the level of injury, okay, it is keloid. Some people have tendency for keloid. Because their fibroblasts produce more collagen. So this collagen is formed by a special cell called, what is this cell? Fibroblast. It is a connective tissue cell. Okay, this is a cell which produce collagen. Okay, so now you all understand this morphological terms. One is scar. If it is above the level of skin, it is hypertrophic scar. If it is goes beyond the limit of the injury, it is keloid. So this is keloid. Okay, so too much of over scarring, it otherwise called as, it is a keloid. Okay, now this is what happens in the superficial injury. This is what happens in the superficial injury. See, same mechanism happens if any injury happens inside the organ. Any injury happens inside the organ, the best organ to study is for injury, it is liver. Okay, see, you know, when the liver starts going for injury, they go for first fatty change. They go for example, the person is drinking alcohol. What is the change happens in the liver? Fatty change. It is reversible or irreversible? Reversible. Okay, so then the liver goes for inflammation. The liver goes for inflammation, that is chronic inflammation. That is, for example, the person got hepatitis virus. Okay, it is a chronic inflammation. It is a virus, it is a chronic inflammation. They go for chronic inflammation. Chronic inflammation leads to fibrosis, and too much of fibrosis, complete liver is filled with collagen, no liver cells, completely liver is replaced by collagen, it is called cirrhosis. It is called cirrhosis, complete liver. I will show the picture, I will show the real specimen in the lab inshallah next week. It will have small, full of liver will be full of nodules, liver will be full of nodules, understand? So that is called cirrhosis, that is called cirrhosis. Okay, once they become cirrhosis, it is reversible or irreversible? Irreversible, because once fibrosis happens, that is the end stage of that organ, that is the end stage of that organ. So this is irreversible. Okay, so now let us discuss about why this is happening. Okay, so first of all, let us inshallah this we will discuss in a after we end semester 1 in neoplasia chapter, in cancer chapter. So now you concentrate on only this. Okay, see, there are three types of cells in our body. There are three types of cells in our body. There are some cells, they are continuously dividing. They are continuously dividing. They are called continuously dividing cells. They are called continuously dividing cells, and the tissue is called labile tissue. And the tissue is called labile tissue. For example, the cells of the skin, it is continuously dividing. The cells of the GI tract, it is continuously dividing. The cells of the oral mucosa, continuously dividing. So these are the cells, and the tissue is called labile tissue. The tissue is called labile tissue. Do you think the cells will go, what is the type of change they happen? That is called renewal. In these tissues it happens called renewal. Okay, now there are some cells, normally they will not divide. When they are needed, they will divide. They are called silent cells or quiescent cells. They are called quiescent cells. They are called stable tissue. They are called stable tissue. For example, liver, pancreas, kidney. The cells in the liver, pancreas, kidney. See, the liver cells, once they become adult, they will not divide. Okay, they will be stable. But when you cut the liver, immediately they will divide. Okay, so when the situation comes, they divide. Unless they will be silent. They will be silent. So same thing happens to pancreas, same thing happens to kidney. These are the three organs. They can go for compensatory growth. They can go for compensatory growth. So there are some cells, they will not divide, permanent cells. They are called non-dividing cells, permanent tissues. Example, brain, neurons. If they are permanent, if they die, they cannot be come back. They cannot come back. They are permanent cells. Okay, so this whole cell comes from a single cell called stem cells. Okay, so the stem cells are the cells which produce any type of cells. They produce any type of cells, and if you see, you know zygote. Okay, so it is the first stem cell in our body. That is the first stem cell in our body. So that is called totipotent stem cell. That is called totipotent stem cell. So which means the whole human comes from that cell. Whole human being come from that cell. All the tissues of human being come from that single cell. That is called zygote. That is called zygote. So it is called totipotent stem cell. After that the cells divide and they form 3 layers, right? They form 3 germ layers. So each germ layer, endoderm cells will produce endoderm. What are the organs come from endoderm? Okay, all the epithelium, okay, comes from endoderm except skin. Okay, skin comes from ectoderm and brain comes from neuroectoderm. Brain comes from neuroectoderm and all the muscle, bone, blood vessel all come from mesoderm. All comes from, easy to remember, skin comes from ectoderm, muscle, bone, blood vessel all come from mesoderm, and the nerves also comes from ectoderm, and the inner organs, no, that all comes from endoderm. That all comes from endoderm. So this is called differentiated cells. This is called differentiated cells because ectodermal cells will not produce endodermal cells. Understand? There are 3 types of cells: ectodermal cells, mesodermal cells, endodermal cells. So endodermal cells will produce, for example, gastrointestinal tract epithelium. Okay, they will not produce skin. They will not produce skin. So mesoderm will produce muscle, bone, blood vessel. They will not produce skin. They will not produce skin. But totipotent cell can produce anything. Can produce anything. You all understand this? Because this 3 germ layer comes from zygote. This 3 germ layer comes from zygote. So this this cell can produce any of these 3. This cell can produce any of these 3. Once they become ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm, they will produce specific organ. They will produce specific organ. So don't forget that. So this is the one I was talking about. If you cut this organ's limb, it comes back. It grows back. It is complete regeneration. It is complete regeneration. Okay. So that capacity is not given to the human being. Okay. So in the human being, what we have is called compensatory growth, otherwise called as compensatory hyperplasia. Otherwise called as compensatory hyperplasia. See, for example, we did an experiment on rat liver. Okay. So in the rat liver, they removed the medial lobe, okay, and the left lobe. Okay, they removed the medial lobe and the left lobe. What happens is other 2 lobes, right lobe and the caudate lobe, becomes big. Understand? They are not producing the last 2 lobe, but they are increasing the size of the existing 2 lobes. Once again, I am telling, the liver has 4 lobes, okay, and we removed 2 lobes, okay. Do you think that 2 lobe is coming back? Actually, they are increasing the size of the existing lobe. They are increasing the size of the existing lobe. This is called compensatory hyperplasia. This is called compensatory hyperplasia. Whereas here, if you take the limb of animal, the limb completely grows back. This is really true regeneration. It is really true regeneration. This you cannot call it as a regeneration because they are not bringing back 4 lobes. They are only increasing the size of the lobe. They are increasing the size of the lobe. It is called compensatory hyperplasia. It is called compensatory hyperplasia. Okay. Now let us discuss about connective tissue. It is called extracellular matrix. It is called extracellular matrix, and this is mainly made up of collagen and elastins that provide strength and recoiling capacity. Strength and recoiling capacity. These are the other connective tissue substance. Okay. See, remember, this is epithelium, right? This is epithelium. The epithelium sits on the basement membrane. This is basement membrane. Okay. Below the basement membrane, we have connective tissue. Below the basement membrane, this all is connective tissue. This is produced by the fibroblast. This is produced by the fibroblast. Okay. So we have a epithelium, basement membrane. Below the basement membrane, we have connective tissue. That connective tissue is produced by the fibroblast. These are the fibroblasts which produce the connective tissue. The main connective tissue is collagen. The main connective tissue is collagen. There are different types of collagen. You should remember at least 4. Type 1 is present in the bone. Okay, easy to remember, bone contains 1. It is type 1 present in the bone. Type 2 present in the cartilage. So just spell cartilage as a cartilage. So 2 is there. So it is cartilage contains type 2 collagen. Type 3 is present in all the tissue. Type 4, remember, it is floor. Floor means basement. So it is like below the floor. That is type 4 is just I am telling you to remember how. Okay. So otherwise you can't, you can memorize it, you can memorize it. Type 1 is present in the bone, type 2 is present in the cartilage, type 3 is present everywhere, type 4 is present in the basement membrane. Type 4 is present in the basement membrane. See, remember, collagen is very, very important, and the collagen is produced by the fibroblast, and vitamin C is required for collagen synthesis. Required for collagen synthesis. If there is vitamin C deficiency, example, it is scurvy. The disease called scurvy. It is vitamin C deficiency disease that will produce inadequate wound healing. Wound healing will not be strong. Understand? If there is no collagen, the scar will not be strong. So the wound rupture will happen. The wound rupture will happen. So that's why vitamin C is very, very important. Vitamin C is very, very important because vitamin C is needed for collagen. Needed for collagen synthesis. Okay, now let us talk about mechanism of this scar formation. Mechanism of scar formation. See, if the injury is happening, if the tissue injury is happening, then it is affecting the connective tissue. The injury is affecting the connective tissue, then the healing starts. See, when the injury happens, I told it has to be removed, right? Injury has to be removed, the necrotic cells has to be removed, so we need inflammation. We need inflammation. So first step is inflammation. First step is inflammation. So once the inflammation is removed, yeah, that's what I'm going slow here now. Okay, so now this is skin. What is this? Epidermis. This is dermis, right? So below the dermis, we have blood vessels. We have blood vessels. This is blood vessel, and we have fibroblast. Okay, now this person got injury. Okay, now the person got injury. Okay, he got injury. Understand? So this injury is deep. It went to the dermis. It went to the dermis. Injury is deep. Okay, the blood vessel will rupture, right? The blood vessel will rupture. So immediately what happens? Bleeding comes, right? The bleeding comes. After that the clot forms, right? After that the blood clot will be forming. Understand? So once the blood clot is formed, then the healing starts. Because the clot formation will stimulate inflammation. The clot formation will stimulate inflammation. The cell comes out is neutrophil. The cells comes out is neutrophil. What is this? If neutrophil comes, it is acute inflammation. It is a acute inflammation. The neutrophils will remove the clot. Understand? They will remove the clot. Understand? Once the neutrophil coming and removing the clot, then the next cell which comes is macrophage. Next cell which comes is macrophage. This is macrophage. So once again I am telling, once there is an injury, the blood clot is formed, right? So the blood clot has to be removed. The blood clot has to be removed, then only the scar formation can happen. So it is removed by a acute inflammation. It is removed by the inflammation. So the first step in healing is inflammation. The first step in healing is inflammation. Once these neutrophils are removing, it is replaced by macrophage. It is replaced by macrophage, and the macrophage will come and remove the neutrophils. They will come and remove the neutrophils, and they also produce growth factor. They produce growth factor, and the growth factor will stimulate the blood vessel. They stimulate the blood vessel, then the blood vessel grows. The blood vessel grows, and the growth factor will stimulate the fibroblast. Okay, fibroblast also proliferate. Fibroblast also proliferate. Once again I am telling, first there is an injury, then it forms a clot. Then the clot has to be removed by inflammation, by neutrophils. Then macrophage comes. Then the macrophage produce growth factor. They produce, GF means growth factor. They produce growth factors. That growth factor will stimulate the blood vessel, and they also stimulate the fibroblast. So what happens is the blood vessel also grows, because the blood vessel is injured, no? The blood vessel grows back. The blood vessel grows back, and the fibroblast divide more. They produce more fibroblast, and they will produce collagen. They will produce collagen. Understand? Then the collagen comes. They will replace the clot with collagen. So the scar is formed. Understand? So initially the scar is not very strong. So they go for changes, that is called remodeling. That is called remodeling. So they form a very strong collagen. Remodel collagen. So this is scar formation. So I am just telling the steps now. So there is an injury, then inflammation. Then what is the next step? That and all inflammation. Neutrophil coming, removing, macrophage coming, all inflammation, right? So one word, if you put inflammation, it's enough. So first step in healing is inflammation. First step in healing is inflammation. After that, blood vessel growing, right? See, I'm telling the steps name. Okay, I'm not giving explanation. See, first is inflammation. So you can put in inflammation, what is happening? Neutrophils coming, then removing the injury area, then macrophage coming, then macrophage produces growth factor. Up to that inflammation, right? Second step is, after growth factor, what happens? Blood vessel is growing. I'm going to give you a name. Angiogenesis. Angio means blood vessel, genesis means growth, formation. So angiogenesis, blood vessel formation. Blood vessel formation. What is the third step? Fibrogenesis. Fibrogenesis. Okay, fibroblast produces collagen. What is the other step? Yeah, scar formation. What is the final step? Remodeling. They become strong scar. So these are the 5 steps. Okay, so you all understand this? Okay. See, first step is inflammation, second step is angiogenesis, then third step is proliferation of fibroblast. So this 2 is called granulation tissue. This 2 is called granulation tissue. In the practical, Dr. Sylvester will show you the healthy granulation tissue. Healthy granulation tissue. For example, you all would have got some injury in your life, right? So once the injury happens, you fall down, you got some scratch. After that, after 1 or 2 days, what will happen to that area? It will become pink, right? That is granulation tissue. That is granulation tissue. Understand? After a week, it will become pink in color. It will become pink in color. If you see it very close, it will be granular appearance. It will be granular appearance. See, for example, this is the hand of a person. Okay, now he got injury. Understand? After a week, there will be some pink color tissue. Okay, there will be some pink color tissue, granular appearance. Granular appearance. That tissue is called granulation tissue. The tissue is called granulation tissue. Why it is pink in color? Mashallah, blood vessel is growing, no? So more vascularity. More vascularity means pinkish red appearance. Okay. So that is why it is pink in appearance. Why it is granular? Anyone can think? Why it is granular? See, now it is pink color tissue, it is granular, right? Granular means something like over them, right? Because the blood vessels are sprouting. You know, if you keep a tree, if you keep a plant, if it sprouts, okay, it comes out, right? So the blood vessels comes out like a sprout. So that's why if you keep if anybody is having injury, if you have a hand lens, if you see it, it will be granular in appearance. Small sprouting blood vessels you can see. So normal healthy granulation tissue should be pink granular appearance. Pink granular appearance. If it is having yellow color and foul smelling, what do you will think? So it is a infected granulation tissue. It is a infected granulation tissue. Understand? So it is very, very important when a person have injury or when you remove a teeth. After a week, it should have a pink color tissue. Pink color tissue, granulation tissue. If that is not happening, then the healing is not happening. Then the healing is not happening. Understand? So presence of granulation tissue. So presence of granulation tissue is very, very important. That's why if you go to the surgery ward, if anybody is having injury, they remove the dressing. First they put a dressing. After a week they remove the dressing and they inspect the wound. When they inspect the wound, what they are seeing? They are seeing whether they see the granulation tissue or not. If they are not seeing the granulation tissue, the healing is not happening. Example, in diabetic patient, healing is delayed. Healing is delayed because they have very weak immune system. Inflammation is needed for healing, right? First step in healing is inflammation. If there is no good amount of inflammation, you will not get good amount of growth factor. Understand? So we need a very good inflammation for healing. Understand? So if there is no inflammation, example diabetic patient, okay, or the patient is having steroid, you know, steroid suppresses inflammation. If the patient is taking steroids or some disease, he will not have good healing. He will not have good healing. Healing will be delayed. Healing will be delayed. Okay, another example. If the person is having vitamin C deficiency, okay, because collagen synthesis is suppressed, it will not have good healing. Understand? Or if the person is having infection, okay, infection will not allow them to go for healing because it grows, bacteria grows there, it will keep on creating inflammation. They will not go make them to go for growth factor synthesis. Okay, so it will be full of infection. Understand? So these are the most commonest thing you clinically encounter. In teeth extraction, smoking interferes with healing. Smoking interferes. The person smokes, he will not get the enough blood clot. If he is not getting the enough blood clot, then he will not get the inflammation. Understand? Because clotting stimulates inflammation. So if you understand the mechanism, if you understand the link, you will easily answer the cases. Once again I am telling, first step in inflammation, what is? If there is a injury due to some damage, not due to infection or not due to ischemia, if it is some blade cut, what is the first step? Clotting, right? When there is cut, when you are working in kitchen and you got a cut, what is the first step? If you are cut, immediately the inflammation comes. First, yeah, first you bleed. Okay, starting from, okay, very good. Bleeding, then clotting, right? Then inflammation, then okay, that and all you keep it in your heart. Don't tell it to me. Okay, it's like a secret for you. Huh? So inflammation means neutrophil coming, removing the clot, then macrophage coming, removing the neutrophil, then putting growth factor. That are all inflammation. So what is the next step? So blood vessel is growing. That is angiogenesis. That is angiogenesis. genesis. After that, fibroblast proliferation. Okay, migration of fibroblasts move towards the wound, towards the injury. It moves and they divide. Okay, this blood vessel growth and fibroblast proliferation, this two is called granulation tissue. This two is called granulation tissue. Actually, this two you should see after a week of injury. After a week of injury. If it is not happening after a week, then you are dealing with some problem. You are dealing with some problem. Immediately you have to ask whether the patient may be diabetic, or the patient may be taking steroid, or the patient vitamin C is less, or the patient is having infection. Okay, at least your level you should know these four. Very commonest one: diabetic, steroid, vitamin C deficiency, or infection. Okay, so these are the things which delays the wound. Or the person is very old. Okay, he is not having enough blood supply to the wound. Okay, that also interferes the healing. Adequate blood supply is needed. Adequate blood supply is needed. Okay, after granulation tissue, after fibroblast proliferation, what is the next step? Scar formation. Okay, collagen deposit. Okay, after that, remodeling. So these are the steps, mechanisms involved in healing. Mechanisms involved in healing. Okay. See, if there is chronic inflammation, they produce more fibrosis. That you all know, right? Chronic inflammation results in fibrosis. Okay. Now we are going to discuss about two types of wound healing. Very, very important. I will make it very easy. See, there are two types of healing. We call first intention, second intention of wound healing. First intention of wound healing, second intention of wound healing. First intention means it is incisional wound. It is incisional wound. For example, surgical incision. Surgical incision. For example, they put a skin, they put a line like incision, right? They take a knife, scalpel, they put a line like incision. That is surgical incision. Secondary wound healing is seen in excision. Excision. Excision means removing a large area. Removing a large area. For example, this is the person having tumor. Okay. So what we do, we put a incision here, we take it deep and we take it out. Understand? It is excision of the tumor. It is excision of the tumor. For example, you have a tooth here. So you want to remove the tooth. So it has root, right? And you remove the tooth like this, right? It is excision. It is excision. You all understand? So first intention of wound healing seen in incisional wound. Second intention of wound healing seen in excisional wound. Excisional wound. Okay. What is the difference? Healing process is same. Healing process is same. For example, see, this is incisional wound. Understand? Small line like incision, right? Here this is excisional wound. Large area is removed. Large area is removed. You all understand these two difference? Okay. This is incisional. This is excisional. Understand? Now, what is the first step when you remove a area? Bleeding, mashallah. Then clotting, right? So now the clot is large or small here? Inflammation will be large or small? Small. Then growth factor will be more or less? Then stimulation of blood vessel will happen, right? Blood vessel grows. Then fibroblast stimulation will be more or less? Less. Collagen deposit will be more or less? Less. So it is incisional wound. It is incisional wound. The scar will be very minimal. The scar will be minimal. Any doubt? Okay. Now, what will happen here? The clot will be less or more. If clot is more, inflammation will be less or more. If the inflammation is more, what will happen to the growth factors? It will be more, right? What will happen to the fibroblast? It will be more stimulated. It will produce more collagen. So what happens? We get more collagen, big scar. We get big scar. So if you have more collagen, the collagen has a nature, has a tendency to contract, So they produce wound contracture. So that is the difference between first intention and second intention of wound healing. So I am telling the difference now. In the first intention, it is incisional wound. In the second intention, it is excisional wound. Example, tooth extraction. Okay, it is a excisional wound. So in excisional wound, there is large clot, large amount of inflammation, large amount of growth factors, more fibroblast stimulation, more collagen formation. So more collagen will produce more contraction, that produce wound contraction. Understand? So this is the problem in secondary intention of wound healing. Second intention of wound healing, it produce wound contracture. In both wound, okay, I given any date, okay, no, okay, so both wound, you have to see the granulation tissue after a week. Because inspection of granulation tissue is very, very important. Very, very important. It gives us a picture what is happening to the healing. If you see a very healthy granulation tissue, what is the morphology of healthy granulation tissue? Pink granular appearance. If it is pink granular, no smell should be there. Pink granular appearance, no foul smelling. Okay. If you see pink granular appearance, that is very good granulation tissue, healthy granulation tissue. Healing is happening normal, good. If there is no granulation tissue on the 7th day, healing is delayed. Okay. If you seeing some area granulation tissue, some area not, it is inadequate. If you are seeing granulation tissue full of some yellow color pus, okay, it is infected granulation tissue. Okay. So these are all the things you should know. See, what is the cell responsible for healing? Macrophage. Because that is the one which produces growth factors. One second. Okay, I stop here. I'll give 5 minutes break. Okay, I'll stop the video.